Oh, wow.
Like leading to
You want to go on a journey, huh?
Woo!
Journeys.
Journeys.
It's fine.
Journeying. Okay.
Yeah, well, okay, so we were just talking about this. We've been together since 2008, so this year that makes it 9 years.
So me and a couple of girlfriends were working on a website, and Qa'id was our designer. He was hired to work with us by one of my friends, but I was living in Philadelphia and Qa'id was living in New York, so we were just like emailing. You weren't there yet, baby.
This is before second.
Yeah, so we were just emailing and like chatting. So that's kind of the way we officially met, was online, and then we met in person at the launch party of the website that Qa'id helped us build.
But yeah, in New York, we were also part of the Brooklyn community, focused on the rights of individuals, focused on stopping police brutality, also just focused on being a community. That was like another space actually in which we were together.
We were both part of Malcolm X grassroots movement. So yeah, doing a lot of activist work and organizing work. Qa'id were you doing freelance designing?
Yeah, definitely there was a period of that, but also working for nonprofits and corporations as well.
Yeah. And then I decided to go to graduate school, studied urban planning, and then somewhere in all of that, a baby came. No, we got married.
We got married.
Sekani was born a year later.
Yeah.
And and then I started working at Brooklyn Movement Center as a communications organizer.
Yeah.
And then
what was that? So I was at the Center for Constitutional Rights, also based in New York.
Yeah.
But yeah, then look, living in New York is hard. There are realities that have always been there that make it hard for Black folks in particular. And when we started to build family, we started to think about, okay, how can this be better? Of course, that's sort of an ongoing question. Every day you wake up, how can this be better? But yeah, I think we started to think about possibilities and started to just get curious and experimental.
Yeah, and you were kind of like ready for the move in your career.
Yeah, not necessarily a move outside of the U.S.
No,
but some kind of shift.
Yeah.
But I think we were just in a space to start thinking creatively about what that move would entail.
We want to eventually live abroad. What are the steps in between? So then we were looking at jobs in other places in the country. I really wanted to live in California.
Yeah, that's right. I was also looking at job opportunities on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But in that process, so I would go to a job board or some site listing opportunities, and I started to notice opportunities outside of the U.S. that were available, that matched my skill set, and following that angle, produced some opportunities outside the U.S.
Yeah.
The first like real, significant one and dependable one was based here in Amsterdam. So doing web design for a company here in Amsterdam. So yeah, I don't remember the exact discussion. I mean, we probably had multiple discussions about the opportunity. Yeah. But probably there was one where we were like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. And so I'm just like used to being, I'm used to working. I'm used to being busy. And so when we moved here, I was like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna do the stay-at-home mom thing. It's gonna be really cute. I'm gonna do all the arts and crafts and do all the mommy groups and stuff. And I basically just didn't know what to do with the kid. Like I didn't know how to entertain him. And at the same time, I was like looking for work because I knew that at some point I would need to go to work. So I was kind of like doing all of the logistical stuff because Qa'id had to go to work kind of straight away when we moved. So I was like doing all the things of like, you know, trying to research the schooling and trying to understand what neighborhood we were going to move into and all those things. That was like my job. And yeah, I didn't have friends. Like I wasn't used to only having a 1-year-old to interact with. And I found it really challenging. I think being a stay-at-home mom is a huge job. Like it's work that people don't recognize, don't appreciate, and it requires like a lot of attention and thought, and kind of the people who are great at that are great because just like you can be great at whatever job you're doing, it's because you're passionate about it and because you're excited about it and because it gives you energy. Doing that did not give me energy. Like coming up with you know, just projects and things for us to do was nice like once or twice a week, but having to do that every day was just not my cup of tea. So
there's no familiarity with
where to
if you want to do arts and crafts,
where do you get the stuff? Yeah, and in Brooklyn, even though I was working full time, I still had a bit of a mommy community. Like I was part of a parenting co-op, and so I had people, other mothers, Black mothers, who when I did need to do those kinds of things, have play dates and stuff to tap into. But here it was like totally foreign, and the things that I did find, it was just all white people, and like just because the kids can play doesn't mean the mamas want to play. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you can connect with those kinds of circles, but ultimately if the connection's not there on a like non-baby tip, then it's also not fulfilling or pleasurable for me. So it was just hard. I was feeling very like, you know, I know I have skills and I know I have intelligence, I have degrees, like I want to be able to use those things and be a mom, you know, like having a full existence is really important to me. And I felt like only one part of who I was being exercised in the first year that I was here. So yeah, I was like pretty bored basically. Yeah. When we first got here, I was like, this place is amazing. We were just like blown away by so many things. Like the technology is more advanced here. It's just a beautiful city to live in. Yeah, we were just super happy to be here, I think, in the beginning. And just like being able to, the awareness that we would be able to travel around a lot, around Europe was awesome. But then we got to the realness of living abroad, which is like everything is a challenge. Getting anything done is a challenge. Like it took me a year to find work. You know, the language was a barrier in some ways when it came to work and building community. Like it took a while to like find friends and to like feel at home, and I was like super homesick. It was just kind of like a lot in the beginning. Yeah, and like we were still figuring out the money situation, like the conversion, and in New York we were both working full time, and then here just Qa'id was working. Our son was just a year old, so yeah, we were still kind of figuring out parenthood, so we had to like figure out the Dutch system for daycare. And
well, we're a team, right?
Yeah.
And coming here, moving here right away, going to work in an environment that was foreign and new and also quite challenging. At the end of the day, I would come home like defeated, really, and then also see how things weren't going well for you.
Yeah.
But really be challenged to provide some kind of support or to even just empathize.
Yeah.
Or to feel comfortable that things were going well.
Yeah, I think that's really important actually, because I think when you do such a huge move and you like, you know, risk it all, you really want it to work. So it's actually really difficult to talk about the challenges in a real way, because we were really trying to to not cloud each other's experience. Also, I felt like we were trying to protect each other from each other's, like, the challenges that we were having individually, because we're like, we can't admit defeat here. We can't say like this didn't work because we've like sold all of our things, we got rid of our amazing Bed-Stuy apartment, we've like quit our jobs, like this has to work, you know. So generally we're like really honest and we keep it real with each other. But I think there was a period where we were both kind of filtering or sheltering each other from the experiences that we were having, because it was too scary to be like, actually this sucks. This sucks. But you know, at the time I don't think we realized that was, you know, that was a natural part of the process. Of course it sucks, like. So it was a lot. It was kind of like moving was its own thing, but like we were also becoming parents at the same time, and changing. I had to like make a career shift. So it was like a lot of changes on top of the big change that happened, I think, when we moved. And I think we're now kind of, after 4 years, like feeling like, okay, like we kind of get it in a lot of ways, like things make sense and we take the good and the bad. We hate the weather, but you know, the school system is really great, for example. So I think all of those things were in my mind when I was writing that article. And I think what's awesome about Sekani is that he's just so free. He's so full of joy. His name means joy and merriment, and he really lives up to that. And I think whether it's about how he experiences his blackness or about also how he experiences being a boy, because for us it's also like we don't want to pass down these tropes of masculinity where it's like, this is how you have to behave as a boy in the world. Like yesterday I was getting my nails done and he got his nails done too, right? Like he shouldn't have restrictions on how he is in the world. And I think that's kind of, where I was coming from, where it's like, you're black, you're also a boy, but and these things can work against you in some ways. But like my job is to protect you from those things to the degree that I can, but also give you obviously the tools to deal with them when those challenges do arise, right? Like I want him to be able to fight back. I'm not always going to be there. Qa'id is not always going to be there, but yeah, like to feel like, no, I can be who I want to be in the world, and the world is a safe place for me. And that's why I think it's important to tell that story of what does it look like to actually be carefree. How can we create these carefree spaces and carefree opportunities for our kids that is not always in reaction to whiteness? Like, how can we just be black and brilliant and not black and brilliant as long as white people ain't oppressing me? Like, I don't want that for him. And so I think that, you know, when I'm talking to other black parents, we're all saying the same thing. Like, we want our kids to be free. We want our kids to shine. So it's like we're always doing different things. We're trying different things to make that a reality. And this is one of those options, right? This is one of those possibilities of creating an environment and opportunities for black kids to be in the world. And at least when we were moving, there weren't that many examples online or things that I could find of like people doing it. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, like, you know, the story needs to be told, even if it's just this one. And if people, not saying like people have to read it and move, but even if it's something like, okay, there's an option, there are other options, there's other ways of being in the world as a black parent.